Howdy. Alrighty. In this video we're gonna demonstrate how to sharpen a single bevel broadhead. These broadheads are Grizzly broadheads, and they are Grizzly 150s with a 100 grain insert, so they are they're 250. And there is some information out there about scary sharp sharpening, and that's this method using sandpaper. Tried a bunch of different methods before. Tried it with the bastard file, coffee cup, lots of things. But anyways, if you look around on the internet, you can realize there's actually experts out there who know how to sharpen things and just kind of follow their lead. And for the cost, I would say that the Scary Sharp with the sandpaper is the best. Anyways, we're going to start off with 120 grit. I'm not sure if this is in focus. And I like to get these on Amazon Prime or Amazon. They have these kind of sticky back 3" by 9" papers, so they work perfect for the broadhead. They're just right, and this set of 5 is like $3. We're gonna start with 120, but it really doesn't matter if you start with 120, 150, whatever. It's just a coarse grain. And then you need a flat plate, so you can use plate glass. As you can see other places on the internet. I found this piece of tile at the Restore here in Espanola, and got 50 cents. So that's a good deal. So 50 cents. These were $3. I ended up spending $10 on sandpaper, but you're gonna need some honing papers. You're gonna need, if you look at some of the other videos, you're going to find out that you need to go all the way up to super fine grain. So the philosophy behind this is to get it as sharp as possible. There's some people who think that jagged sharp is sharp. Some people think that other methodologies are sharp. I don't think so. The Japanese definitely don't think so, and they're pretty darn good with knives. But anyways, let me see if I can get a better reflection. There's a little bit better reflection. Let me see if I can adjust the focus real quick here. Oh, I know, man. So hold on. So you can see, you may not be able to see properly here. Alright, so Grizzly broadheads come pretty ragged. Let's see here. Not sure if you can see, but you can clearly see the edges here. Very ragged broadhead. And you also see some striations on the blade here. Right in here you can actually see striations. And so what you're doing with each level of sanding each paper, you're making this to be smooth and consistent, so that it all looks the same, like the same roughness really. You just want it to be the same. So you use 120 and you get it to a certain place. So let me show you this other one. I'm not sure, I've been working this one a little bit. This one, I'm not sure if it's going to show up in the camera here, but there's a little corner down here that looks different than the rest of the broadhead. So I'll show you how you work it, but the goal is to get this corner right here, the whole thing, to look exactly the same. You know, top to bottom. You just want to, because that gives you a single flat blade, and you need to carry that through the heavier grain. That's why you hit the 120 first. It's real coarse. You're going to be shaving a lot off there. Not a lot of grains, but it makes quick work of it. I think that might be the angle right there. You can see a little reflective light. See how it's different right there. So you're just getting this flat. Alright, so here we go. I like to take it, I put a little clip on here. Adhesive back's really nice, like I said. So then I just, it doesn't matter how you do it, but I tend to lay my hand here. I have an old arrow, just cut the end off, wrapped it, and just use that as my guide. Now you can use an arrow guide like you can buy for several, 20 bucks or whatever, but for us kind of cheapskates, I personally feel you can get a pretty good even bevel by just putting pressure on here. I put my thumb kind of in the middle, like this, like there, and you can feel that flat blade of the single bevel. And so, after feeling the flat blade, you just kind of press and just go straight down, and you just work it. All is one. And I don't have any amount of strokes. At this point you're just getting it flat. It doesn't matter if you work it like this. You may think it matters, but it doesn't matter. You're not going to be organizing the grains of the broadhead till you get to a much finer grain, finer sandpaper. So you're just working at this point, and then you work it, and then you look at it and see if it's consistent. Well, I can see here that, and I can't show you, but there's like the half of the head, this lower half is getting worked, but this upper half isn't. That could be due to my angle, or it's probably just due to the fact that it needs more grinding. Now the more you work the head with your hand, the more you're going to feel what's flat, truly flat on the bevel. Just keep working that bevel, and you can also hear it. Like you can hear when at the end there, when it wasn't flat, and it actually gets progressively easier as it gets smoother. So I'm just looking here. I'm getting close now. I can see the entire blade except this upper front part and this lower back here is all reflecting light the same way. It's all exactly the same reflecting light. But that doesn't mean I don't have enough on those two ends. So you can move your hand a little bit around too. See if the pressure might change it. But you're not really trying to bend the broadhead as you go down the sandpaper. So we're really taking a lot off here as we go. Okay, I'm getting close now. I just have the tip and the end. So I'm going to keep working these till I get it right. Take me about another 3 minutes. Okay, so I just wanted to say a couple things about this first use of getting onto this 120 paper. First of all, the paper wears out very quickly, and it is difficult to keep it going through. This is going to be the longest step of all the sanding, because you really have to get the blade flat. Once you get the blade flat, all your other progressive courses of paper are going to go a lot faster because you get a flat blade. So I'm just about done with this blade, and I doubt you can see the little bit of reflection I'm getting, right? Maybe you can see that little difference in reflection down at the tail here and the tip there. So the tips and your tails are going to be where you're going to have the hardest time. Now this blade is totally done. It's totally smooth. I'll try to get a close up here in a second. And actually with the 120 it actually comes out very nice. So I just want to show you a couple things before we proceed. Another way to do is to lift your board just slightly up off the ground, off your table completely. Put your hand somewhere where it's comfortable on the side of the blade. I typically don't use gloves, but you can use gloves that makes you feel more comfortable. grasp the blade, and then on the side of the paper here, just run your blade, get your blade up to your bevel like this, and just run your blade. You can actually use your finger as a guide on the side, just back and forth, just continuously like this, without lifting up. That way you can keep your bevel. It's easier to keep your bevel this way when you don't lift. You have a constant angle. So what you'll see is you work this, you're getting a lot of fines. You can blow them off. Check your blade again. I still don't have a tip and a tail. Go back to working it. Okay, so keep going. And it can take a while. I spoke incorrectly when it takes 3 minutes on this first one. It only takes more like 10 minutes per broadhead to get this done. So I'm working it here, and at some point this little strip of sandpaper is no longer going to be sharp. Although I can still see that I got plenty of material coming off. I still have a tip and a tail. So what you can do is you can push your sandpaper over, and I like to cut mine off because I don't want it to push over the edge, because I'm putting my hand against the edge and then I'll rub against my hand and rub a hole in my skin, which I've done before. So I just take it and then use some of your kid's scissors or whatever you got to cut it, and you can just cut that piece off. Try to cut a straight line. Lay it back on there. Grasp it with your clip if you need to. You might not need to. And then make sure you're working your right side. Then get back after it. And I've already worked this paper a little bit, so it's not as sharp as it could be across the whole thing. But then get back on it, work it pretty quick. And I can't overestimate the need to get this totally flat here. If you skip in this step, you will never get a totally flat broadhead. That's just the way it is. And sometimes the higher this board is off the table, the better, so you can get your knuckles to drag. Your knuckles don't drag, which is happening to me right now. More defined setup would be in my best interest. So just keep working it, see if I got it. I still have a little bit of tip and tail. So maybe you can see that, maybe not. Then I gotta work, so I'm gonna keep after it. Alright, so that took me way longer than expected with the 120, so I have to probably recommend next time, maybe trying a 60 or 80 to start off with. You are gonna burn through paper through this whole process, so it might be good to get a roll. Just make sure you have enough paper. Okay, so I've got a little bit on this tail left over and a little bit on this tip, and I'm going to try to show you that. Just a little tiny bit on the one side, and the other side's looking good. So you then have the back sides of the broadhead to take off, and you have a bunch of burr there too. And really, you need to sharpen both sides of the blade. It's just the way it is. And so it's pretty easy. The only problem with doing it is that you can end up catching the paper with this back edge and ripping your paper. That's happened to me quite a lot. But basically, you just kind of keep it flat. I mean, you're just flat bevel. You're just trying to keep it as flat as possible without making it totally horizontal, because if you make it totally horizontal, you'll take off all the paint on the backside, and it's just not what you want. So you're gonna, it's not truly a single bevel. There's a slight bevel on the backside, and anybody who's not getting that slight bevel off the backside isn't truly getting a sharp single bevel. So you just work it back and forth until you again just get a smooth edge on that side. And you're going to bring a burr up to the other side. Most of it can just be pulled off itself, but don't really worry about your burrs at this point. the burrs are meaningless. You're going to work this blade so much that it's going to be mirror sharp in the end, and your burrs are going to pop off just so quickly. And in the end, you're actually going to work your burrs when you have on the honing. The burrs going to pop back and forth, but that's at the end of the process. This is still the beginning. So I've almost got this backside good enough. The backside's easy because it's not a big surface. You've already made the front side flat. So when you made the front side flat, you essentially made an even cutting edge. So this part of your blade here, the edge is then a straight line because you flattened everything. So you're actually cutting off all the way to the edge of the broadhead. So, and now it's just easy to pick up the backside. So I wasn't worried about doing the backside until you have your first, whether it's 60 or 120, whatever you use as your first sandpaper, until you have it done. So I'm just going to work it a couple more times, both sides. And that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to show you the broadhead. Okay, I'm not sure if I can hold it here or if this is in focus or not. It said it was. So this is the broadhead and this is the good side. It really reflects light pretty evenly. And this is the, you know, if you're using 120, you've got a smoother side, but 120 looks pretty good. I mean, this looks like a nice head. Looks easily as good as a Montec or most whatever you're gonna buy. They claim to be a sharp broadhead out of the package. So if you look at this side, I'm not sure if you will see it, but at the tip and the tail, there's just a little bit of difference in the way that the light reflects, and that's because the blade's not flat there, meaning we haven't been able to smoothen that portion, and you have to smoothen that portion in order to, you know, continue on, because otherwise the rest of your sharpening won't be hitting that, because you're really not going to be taking away that much metal in the future. So, and you can also see the back, the other sides are looking pretty good too. Okay, I'm going to try this one more time. This is even closer. That's the good side, and this is the other side, and you can see at the tip of the tail the light may show up reflecting just slightly different. Yeah, maybe you can see at the tail there, and then the back side of the blade, the flat bevel side of the blade, looking good.